You're listening to Off the Card, an action figure podcast, a show about action figures by kids trapped in the bodies of grown men. And here they are, Billy Cooper and Eric Murphy.
Oh, thank you, Producer Paul, for all the kind words. Here we are, episode 2 of Off the Card, the podcast about action figures, or whatever I titled this monstrosity. Joining me, as always, is co-host Eric. What's up, man?
Not much.
All right, so first episode's out. We're going into episode 2. We decided to do something again near and dear to our hearts before we start doing other stuff. We're doing what we know up front. So let's dive into the world of music action figures. This list is huge. I'm
Yeah.
This was worse, I think, than the horror movie one.
Yeah, I think it goes back further. And it kind of, I mean, you could technically divide it between what we consider, well, not even that, what we consider to be action figures and then dolls.
Yeah.
You could, from the 70s through the 80s into the 90s, it wasn't until the late 90s we actually saw actual action figure-esque figures, even then stretching, because they were more like statuesque, but had a little bit of posability to them, not much. But in the 70s and 80s, more Barbie doll, G.I. Joe 12-inch clothing-based figures.
Yeah, so when I was digging through, I found stuff far back as, I think we said even farther back than this, but I know that in 64, Rimco did some Beatles stuff.
Yeah.
Then you had the Monkees, and then it kind of goes from there. So basically, if you were a pop star, Sonny and Cher, the Carpenters, whoever, the Osmonds, you had dolls. Because a lot of these were like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, like pinup, sex symbol type,
It's Tiger Beat.
Tiger Beat type guys.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of where it started. And then you fast forward to where kind of what we care about more than anything. I mean, you had during the 90s, you had everything from NSYNC to New Kids on the Block in the 80s, because I was talking to Joy and she's like, she had them all.
Oh yeah, that was huge. Even Eminem had a 12-inch clothing doll based style figure.
Yeah, and he also had 2 action figures as well.
Yeah,
which were really cool. I still like to get that Slim Shady one with the hockey mask and the chainsaw, but I've never seen one in person. I've
seen the doll version of it.
Yeah. It's crazy, but going back all the way, like I said, through the 80s into the 90s, Britney, Christina Aguilera.
Oh, yeah.
If you were a pop star, you had a doll. You were trying to sell merch to little girls, which is completely fine.
That's how they marketed it back then.
All the way up to now, like you said, I know over at Target in their like collector's area, there's Billie Eilish stuff, their Playmates. So, good for her. Make that money. But then it really kicked off, and again, we've talked before we started recording. I'm not kissing McFarlane's ass by any means, but man, the dude was a trendsetter. When he stepped in '97 and dropped New Kiss figure.
Yep.
Good God. I mean, I remember those things were everywhere. I was going to conventions and stuff, and it seemed like every dealer had all
the Kiss. It was the Kiss Alive run.
The original ones came with, and I didn't know this because this is just all research on me, because I've never really bought a lot of the. I've never really bought a whole lot of the music figures. The first Kiss wave, you had them standing with their letters.
Yeah.
Then they put out the ones later as like a retread or a refresh of their solo albums.
Yep.
And then they did gold albums.
Yep.
So there was 3 runs of the same 4 figures.
Yep.
And that kind of set the precedent on how this was going to work.
Yeah, McFarlane went, I mean, we were cracking jokes in the last episode about how many different versions of Ash we had.
Yes.
That is nothing compared to how many different versions of Kiss that he had, from the standard to Psycho Circus to Creatures to, I mean, to this day, that's the only figure of Eric Carr that exists, because he made an Eric Carr figure at, but yeah, he struck the well many times with Kiss.
So he didn't really expand out from Kiss until '99. He did the Beatles Yellow Submarine figures, and then
those were really cool.
Yeah, they were really cool. The Ozzy, super buff Ozzy, and then in 2000 he did a second run of the Beatles Blue Submarine figures.
Yeah,
he did a fourth wave of Kiss. That's when he did Rob Zombie. The Alice Cooper.
With followed suit.
And Janis Joplin. The Rob Zombie, I didn't know if you knew this. You probably remember. You know there was two versions of that figure?
There was?
The stones that he stood on the beast, on the base, there was gray and black, and then there was a light brown that actually got released.
Okay, I had the gray and black.
Everyone did. That one was like a later series, like almost like a repaint.
Okay.
Little hard to find. I don't see a really big price difference, but you can every now and then luck into one on eBay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool though. Then he did Jerry Garcia, Angus Young. He did Jim Morrison, and then he did more Kiss, Maiden, Jimi Hendrix, and it just kind of went on from there.
Yeah, and then the big
Slash, two different
Metallica,
Metallica,
Motley Crue.
Yep, he did Motley Crue,
and then towards the end of it, he went ultra hard on Elvis.
Yeah, there was a lot of Elvis there at the end. And then during this time, you had other companies kind of stepping in as well. You had guys doing, there's a group that I found on here, the Stronghold Group. Stronghold Group did a series of figures called Grunts, and they did porn. And they were basically the precursor almost to like Pops.
Yeah.
They were vinyl figures.
Yeah.
They did Outcast. They did Kiss. They also did some more statuesque figures of Joey Ramone and Nelly. Of all people, Nelly got an action figure. What the hell? Stevenson's Entertainment Group did My Chemical Romance. 3 different versions of those figures. Mm-hmm. One with, I looked this up. This was crazy. I never even seen them. If I'd seen them, I'd have bought them.
I think I saw them at Hot Topic.
Did you see them back then?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, they didn't. They look like GI Joe size. And one of them, they all came either by themselves with their red gun, or they came with their red gun by themselves with a guitar pick, or there was a zombie version.
Yeah, because I think around the time those came out, I believe there was a Fall Out Boy set that came out too.
There was. And then this same company, Stevenson Entertainment Group, which they call it SEG LLC, Good Charlotte, Less Than Jake, AFI. They did Green Day.
Mercy and Good Charlotte, Mercy and Less Than Jake.
Pretty cool, though, that those What? I mean, because this was before Green Day kind of broke again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was right around the time American Idiot came out.
Yeah, pretty cool. Another group, this one's going to be very interesting for you. There was a group called Smiti.
Yeah, Smitty's.
SMITI. They did a bunch of Osbournes.
Yeah, they did a whole payload of different things, 12-inch dolls for the reality show.
Yeah, but they also did, this company was notorious, Smiti, for these little Lego style guys, almost like Kubrick's and Bear Bricks and things. They did all kinds of Osbournes. They did Kiss. They did Limp Bizkit, and they all came with stages. And they did Metallica.
I have it.
The only Cliff Burton figure ever made.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I have it.
That was really interesting. It was the
That's the only Cliff. That's the only Cliff Burton figure in existence. Yep. Yeah, and I have it put away.
Super 7's coming with one. They signed something with his family, I believe.
Yeah, I have that. I got that for Christmas when I was probably a freshman in high school or something. Cool. Yeah, that's sealed up and put away.
Good deal. Yep. They did Offspring. They did Power Man 5000.
Yep, they had Power Man. I remember
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit, Power Man 5000. Those were really heavily sold in Spencer's.
I remember that.
Yeah.
No doubt. They did
Yep.
Sex Pistols, and they also did, drum roll please, the greatest band of all time, the Wiggles. Just joking, but they did do the Wiggles.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty
Weird.
interesting.
I know it was
freaking
it them.
weird.
I'm thinking it was the them or Mezco that also did Lego style figures. I have an Ozzy Bark at the Moon one.
Mezco did the Mezzets, which are those little
They did. It's like a
squatty.
little, and they were in like little cylinders.
Yes,
And I have an Ozzy Bark at the Moon one.
Yep. That was Art Asylum that did those.
That's right.
Those were a precursor to the Mini Mates because they were on like the same style of body, only a little bigger.
Yep. And I had the Mini Mates Ghostbusters. Yeah.
And and it just keeps going. You have Neca. Neca did.
Neca swung for the fence. They went back and got Iggy Pop. They got Joey Ramone.
Johnny Cash.
Cash.
They even did a run of ICP figures.
Yep.
While I'm not a fan, beautifully sculpted figures. I was shocked. I was like, damn, those look really nice. If I was a fan of them, I would really search them out. That Maiden, though, is just as prolific as
all the different versions of Eddie,
which is fantastic. That if ever there was a mascot that screamed, "Turn me into an action figure."
Really, the funny thing is that Kiss, it was the band getting. There's not one figure of the members of Maiden. It's always Eddie.
Yeah.
There's not a Bruce Dickinson figure out there in a spandex. It's all the Eddies.
I would own if they did, but it's pretty cool. But no, I mean, I was looking through here. Hell, man, they've made MC Hammer.
Yep.
And another two guys that are. Oh, I mean, hell. Well, hold on a second. Before we go any farther, with NECA, they did two versions of Kurt Cobain. They did Johnny Cash.
Yep. Two different versions of Johnny Cash. The San Diego Comic-Con exclusive all black.
Yeah. But another two guys that got a lot of action figure love. Not as prolific as Kiss and Eddie from Maiden.
Yeah.
Biggie and Tupac.
Yep. Biggie and Tupac came out real hot and heavy around the same time. I don't know what company it was. I can't remember. My Chuck D and Flavor Flav.
They did
the clothing, their actual clothing figures.
I don't know who that company is. I'll have to look.
It had a lot of I haven't put away out to get them out.
Yeah, they did the Public Enemy figures, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's Flavor Flav and Chuck D because and it was early era Flavor Flav.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who that company was. Oh, there's the figures. I'm looking them up right now. I'm going straight to the internet
because they did Big E figures too.
They did. I remember that. Very clearly. And these were in big old clamshells too.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who made these. We're gonna find out, man. We're gonna figure this out. Mezco.
Well, there you go.
Mezco. Well, it kind of dead giveaway now that I say it because they're very cartoony, kind of exaggerated. So Mezco. Yeah, there was so many companies that have stepped in and tried, to get into the music figures.
There's a couple of weird urban legend things I remember with McFarlane. I remember seeing photos of a prototype of Kid Rock.
It never got released. I did some research on that. I actually have pictures of it. So what happened was with the Kid Rock figure, as far as I can find, someone can, correct me if I'm wrong, but McFarlane said in interviews that Kid Rock wanted a removable coat where he wanted to wear the white fur coat.
Yeah.
Which back then in '99 was a little hard to do on a McFarlane figure because, well, it's about as articulated as a damn lawn gnome.
Yeah.
And then he wanted interchangeable hands to go from the devil horns to the middle finger.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to come with a strip club base. And he, I guess, from what you kind of read between the lines, he was a little hard to deal with. Same thing with Limp Bizkit. There was supposed to be Limp Bizkit figures that he was going after as well. McFarlane was. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then the other urban legend, I've never seen it confirmed. I just remember it being talked about, is that Angus Young went into the factory and autographed clamshells internally on the Angus Young figures, and you didn't know it was autographs unless you opened it up. And this
I've
was a
heard,
rumor that went around for years that it was blind boxed. You didn't know until you opened it up, the interior liner of the background of the clamshell, because they were clamshelled then, they weren't on
yep,
cards,
yep.
that it was autographed.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
It's
I'd
definitely
love to find out if there's a fact to that, if it was just an urban
that.
myth.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research on that. That's kind of fun. I know um, McFarlane did Angus, and then Neca did Angus
With Brian Johnson.
with Brian Johnson.
Yep.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah.
The Slash figure. There was two versions:
Yeah.
clamshell and the box was with the box came
Yeah.
with all the amps.
Yeah. There's a Hendrix one where he's on his knees and his guitar's on fire.
The Monterey Pop. Yeah.
Yep.
That one's cool. Those there at the end were a little bit harder to find. I remember not seeing as many
Yeah.
of like the Elvis there at the end, and some of those, like at that point he had turned full steam into sports.
Yeah. It was that's about the time he kind of, the last little bits of stuff that poured out was like the Motley Crue box set, the Elvis stuff. And then after that, it died. Everything died off same time as the movie stuff. They all kind of died at the same time, and he went full force on sports.
Yeah, it seemed like he kind of put everything to the side. And then you got you guys stepping in, and we can't forget these guys. Funko, holy crap!
Funko has changed the landscape of it all. I was just at Meyer today, which, by the way, I don't know if you've been at a Meyer recently. Mm-hmm. They're going through a full store remodel. That is the best toys department I have seen out of Meyer in decades. I walked in there and was floored by how it fully stocked, nice, neat, and organized, bigger. They got rid of the video game section that's in the Canby Meyer and moved it back to the electronics department and doubled the size of it.
Oh, good.
It was nice. But on the Funko Pops, I ran the corner and I almost grabbed Run DMC. They had the full Run DMC and Jam Master J. And I was like, I may have to get these.
Yeah. And see that, and that's the thing though, that Funko, I mean, we can do a Funko episode down the road as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, even on top of that, but they're cheap. And and you can throw them in the cart, and it doesn't, like, they basically fit into your grocery bill. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those were $8.99 when I saw them.
Yeah, I mean, it's dirt cheap, and you throw them in there, and there's something for everybody. So yeah, they've changed the game completely. I agree with you there. But my God, they've had everything from, they've done Motley Crue, they've done Guns N' Roses. Never thought that was ever going to happen.
Yeah, I got
Slayer, Joey Ramone, Lemmy, multiple Lemmys, multiple Papa Americas.
As we're recording this today, Metallica is releasing a special edition Walmart exclusive set for the Black Album.
$50.
$50. I have a few complaints. One of the complaints being they did a run a couple years ago of the four. But for whatever reason, they dated Lars, Kirk, and James into the 1990s era.
Yeah. And
put them with Robert.
Are they doing that in the box set as well?
Yeah, it's the same exact ones.
But they're in black and white though, right?
Yeah. And but Newstead's in it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Newstead, which is cool. But what I wish they would have done was saved that look for the Newstead box set and did modern era with Robert, and everything would have been fine. Then you would have had modern era, you would have had 92 era, and then later if you want to do a Master of Puppets run with Cliff, and you have three different iterations of it. So I think they kind of messed that up a little. But the cool thing is that the box is freaking huge.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But they're on a wall mountable base, and it's a platinum record of the Black Album.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool.
That is neat. As much as people give Funko shit, man, they care about the fans. I don't care what anyone says. Look, I don't agree with the chases and all that other nonsense, but I mean, damn, those guys have done
this album cover stuff's really neat.
I like those. Yeah, I've got my Ghost Papa shipped here soon.
I saw Queen's News of the Day.
Yeah,
one look sharp looking.
One of the ones that I'm not even a fan of the band, but when I seen it, I'm like, okay, that's great. Was the soldier on the front of the Hybrid Theory Park?
Yep.
Yeah,
that was really smart.
That was like really cool.
I'm patiently awaiting the one that I think would be the coolest one would be 2112.
Yeah,
that's just 2112.
Yeah. Oh, well, they did Ozzy, Diary of a Madman, right?
Yep.
Or Bark at the Moon. I forget.
Diary of a Madman.
Diary of a Madman.
But to have that little naked dude have him turned around and he's reaching through it.
That'd be kind of sweet. As much as Funko's done, Super 7 has, I mean, they're firmly gripped into music.
They did
love them or hate them. I'm a huge fan. They've done everything from Agnostic Front. Their character.
Did they do Scotty Ian?
No, they did the guy from Among the Living, the preacher with the devil horns.
That's right.
They did him. Now, I mean, Scott Ian's got his own NECA figure.
That's his NECA that made it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was NECA. They did everything from Venom, their little demon guy, the Descendants, Milo. They've done multiple Papas. They did the Gorilla Biscuits logo.
Did the skull head for Lemmy or for Motorhead?
Motorhead, yeah, the boar. They did a 3-pack of Slayer as zombies.
For the Alive album.
Yeah, they've never done a Lombardo, and they probably never will.
No. I think they did the character for all the Megadeth stuff too.
They did Vic Rattlehead. Yeah, they did a Vic. They've done King Diamond. They've done multiple. They did Judas Priest. They did Rob Halford. They did a bunch of Eddies. I mean, you can't throw a stick without hitting an Eddie. Again, just one of those characters that lends itself. Oh, he just looks like an action figure, right? I mean, he's cool. I've got 4 or 5 of those, and then
I had the McFarlane Killers one.
That's a good one.
I had that one with the hatchet.
Yep, that's a good one. My favorite is probably the Trooper.
The Trooper was cool looking too.
I had the NECA 8-inch clothed Trooper, and he comes with a giant Union Jack with like holes in it and stuff.
I'll tell you one of the coolest things NECA did was they did a run of 18-inch music ones. They did an 18-inch Freddie Mercury, and then they did John Lennon, and I think they did Kurt Cobain. Yep.
And those Freddie figures, again, Freddie Mercury, they did the whole band as Funko Pops, but he's got
a couple different iterations. He had one that was like a Japanese one that
they did like the it's Bandai, or Figma. I think it's Figma. Really super articulated, really cool. They did 2 or 3 versions of him in that.
They did the yellow jacket from Wembley.
Yeah, that was cool. And then the yellow jacket from Wembley, and then they did the AIDS one as well with the
Live Aid.
Live Aid
one.
Yeah, AIDS one. That was horrible.
Yeah, it's like there's so many jokes, but
we can't.
We're not gonna do it. But
there's no sign. Oh hell, I'm looking through my notes. Hell, man, Vanilla Ice had action figure dolls.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
the thing with some of the funnier things that I saw out of McFarlane back then, and I remember this because I may or may not have snuck into my parents' bedroom and found some Christmas presents when I was in like 8th grade or freshman high school, and stumbled upon the 4 single individual Metallica figures. But they did those single individual runs, but then they did the big box set with the stage, the Harvester of Sorrow one, which I still have. And I found those, and then went back like a week later, and they disappeared. They disappeared because at the time, my brother worked for Sam Goody. He returned them all because the box set dropped, and he bought the box set instead and upgraded. I was like, oh shit, they found me out. They got rid of them because I got caught. And they kind of found out they upgraded the big box set.
Slightly off topic, but still on topic as well, not music related. I remember my dad bought me a Super Nintendo, and I remember finding it in his closet. And it was about a month before Christmas. And I was like, man, I can't wait for Christmas. He said, what are you so happy about, jackass? I'm like, oh, I got me a Super Nintendo. He goes, oh, you think you do? I'm like, yeah, I see it in your closet, man. He goes, oh, okay. Christmas Day, guess who got a bike? And no Super Nintendo. And he told me I didn't need any video games, that I need to take my fat butt out and ride around the yard and on my bike. So I got a mountain bike that year because I opened my damn mouth. That's my dad. Word to the wise, kids. If you're listening, don't say shit about your Christmas presents.
If you find them, don't say a word. Treat it like a body you found in a creek. Just leave it and walk away.
That's right. This ain't Stand By Me, fuckers.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and all else fails, especially if you're a chubby kid, don't act like a smart ass because your old man will put you in place. But yeah, man, just looking through here, all the different, it basically heavy metal. Looking at, now we can look back at this whole list of things. Heavy metal definitely lends itself to the action figures.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to see more Guar action figures.
Yeah.
But other than there's not the demographic probably to sell them, and like
it'd be a niche thing. Yeah.
I've seen some vinyl companies do some stuff.
I mean, we just finally got our first Slipknot with Funko.
You would have thought that somebody would have stepped
by
up.
now. Somebody, and I honestly think Funko, in my opinion, dropped the ball on it because
they're only doing the three. They did three of them, right?
They did Sid. They
Corey,
did Corey
and Jim,
something like that. But here's my thing: they did Modern Era.
They didn't do the jumpsuits.
This is licensed to print money. They screwed up. What they should have done was did each iteration of them from the first album on
red jumpsuits, yes, and so on and so forth. Volume 1, Iowa,
and go up, and then you make you get with Paul Gray's family, get with Joey Jordan's family, have ones made, give the money to them,
put them in a box set, like they're putting Pearl Jam out. Yep. They did Pearl Jam as a box set, and then they did Pearl Jam as zombies in a box set. I don't know what the hell that's about.
That was about, Picture, the album cover of the very first album. They do the album cover for the first album where they're all on it together.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things you do. It might be because there's 9 members and maybe some don't want to be action figures, but I would think it'd be an all-in type situation.
Yeah. Yeah, you have 2 that's passed away, and then you have 1 that got fired and sued for money.
But they put out bobbleheads back in the day. They've done lunchbox. It's not like
they've done.
Slipknot's.
They were actually probably. I would say that in the late '90s, they were probably the most marketed thing on the face of the planet. Reason being, going in the music industry is that Roadrunner screwed them on the record deal. So the only way they made money was touring on merchandise.
True.
So
very true. And it seems like that seems to be the kind of the case for a lot of these action figures and stuff. The band will probably get a little bit more of that than say record sales,
since they're like this.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, but definitely lends itself to rock and roll, heavy metal, things like that. Look, Kiss was made to look like action figure.
Kiss
they based their look on Marvel Comics characters.
They started, they're the one that kind of started it all. With the Kiss dolls in the 1970s, those are probably the most sought after toys. Even today, is the most sought after toys for Kiss collectors.
Oh, and they still, to this day, you go to a comic convention, you're going to find a Kiss action figure somewhere. We're Kiss figure poor.
Yeah.
Hell, I was just looking at that new Loyal Subjects just did a new a line of figures called like Best Figure or Best Action or something.
Yeah.
And they've done Slash. They've done, of course, they've done Gene and the Demon. They've done Angus, Ozzy. They've done a bunch of those guys too already. And this is another company stepping in doing those same guys, right? So I'm actually shocked. And then we're not even getting into the Art Asylum doing those big, like 24-inch tall, like Alice Cooper and Rob Zombies.
Yeah.
Remember those?
I remember the Jack in the Boxes and stuff too.
Yeah. I got a Sam from Trick or Treat. Jack in the Box. They just recently, another company, I think Hell probably messed up.
The material that the Rob Zombie is made out of, is like this weird, like spongy latex. Mine actually decomposed.
Did it really?
Yeah, it actually decomposed and fell apart.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah, literally all the arms started falling. Like, what the fuck?
That's like my Rob Zombies are turned into a zombie.
Yeah.
These companies, and there's a bunch of companies that stepped into this and kind of disappeared. Maybe they weren't in it for the long haul. They overextended. I don't know.
Yeah.
But of all these things that I've looked at doing the research on this music stuff, I found the Smiti stuff, the little block guys. I thought those
Yeah.
were the coolest because you got to a
The head
stage.
sculpts on them were really, really good.
And they were really good, and they had the little block bodies. They were very Kubrick,
Yeah.
Bear Brick kind of thing. But you got a stage and instruments
Yep.
and,
They
and
even had a
stuff.
background.
Yeah, they had backdrops. Like you got
Yeah.
everything, and like, oh, this box set's it's like $30. Back then, $30 was like whole shit money for toys. But now one of those box sets would be $100. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
rough top. But it's just really cool to see all the different things, like the Limp Bizkit set and that Metallica box set's absolutely gorgeous. It's just so cool to see the Master of Puppets.
Yeah. It tells you
stage.
I've had it for so long that I've actually at times forgot that I have it. And because anybody knows me on a personal level knows how much Metallica stuff I own. That I'd go through boxes and then I have it all in one big Ziploc bag because like each individual guitar holds in their hand. Lars' set's a full size set and the cymbals come off. So you can lose pieces.
Yeah.
So it's all in a big Ziploc bag. And I'll occasionally be going through stuff and all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm pulling like, oh yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
And then it goes back in the thing.
I wonder how they got away with Cliff.
I don't know. His dad was the only person left alive, and this was made.
Oh, and it was 99, 2000, right around in there.
Yeah, it was made then. I don't know. I don't know how it got done. Yeah. I know it did, and the head sculpts on those figures are ridiculous, even on Cliff. I have no idea. Like
you can just clearly see it was him. All the head sculpts, like even the Osbournes, like even the family. Yeah. I was looking through. I'm like, those are great, and they was different. They were variants. Like on the Osbournes, they did Halloween variants that was only available at Claire's. I'm like, what? Claire's sold? Yeah. I mean, that's how popular
the reality show was. I mean,
oh man, huge.
They were they ran ads for it Ozfest.
Oh, I remember. Was it when Black Sabbath came back for the first time? They ran some cuts before Sabbath came out of the family goofing off and shit. So
Ozfest 2002, I remember it being that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And honestly, though, looking at this from Funko to Super 7. I have a Super 7 figure on the way. It'll be here next week. I'll probably do something like a review with it. But my Ultimates Papa Emeritus is going to be here next week. With Super 7 did. So it's in that slipcase box.
Yeah.
It's got the two different robes and the crucifixes and everything. So I'll probably do a review of that on our Facebook page. Show some pictures. I've been looking forward to that figure for almost a year.
I'll tell you what's really strange is looking back. I mean, right now it's kind of a polarizing situation, but the one person that never got any action figures that I know of made was Manson.
He did.
He did.
They were imported from Japan. They were. Oh man, I will look them up right now. But yes,
because I don't remember
two versions of him, and you could only get those. I remember only seeing those at like
comic shops as like a hobby thing.
Yes. And they just did a vinyl pop of him.
Yeah, they did.
Yep, the Disposable Teens. So they did him in Disposable Teens. They did him in the Mechanical Animal outfit, and then the Beautiful People with the arm stuff where he's on
the stretched out stuff.
Yeah. They did 3 of these I know of. Actually, right now.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking I could be going crazy. Maybe they didn't do a figure hit for the Dope Show.
They did. Mechanical Animals. Yep. And
that's the name of the album, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the see-through stuff. Well, there's another one. So this company, I don't know who they are. Let me look them up. This is interesting. This company, Future, FEWTURE.
Yeah.
They did a few of them, and they did him in Hollywood as well.
Okay.
So they're basically McFarlane-esque, or Dash, I think is the name of the company. I don't know. But anyway, they're very McFarlane-esque. They don't move really, but they're well sculpted, interesting paint. Yeah, interesting. That's yeah, but they did do him. You would think that guy would have got something. Like you would have thought for sure McFarlane would have hopped on that.
Yeah.
Or even Neca.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was kind of like, I thought about it. I was like, I don't really recall it.
I don't know why he would only do that overseas.
Who knows?
There's probably a legality thing or something.
Yeah. Who knows with him? Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably something messed up.
There's dark water there we probably don't know about.
No, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. So, but again, another guy like you said, that Scream action figure. That's him, 100%. That guy is built to piss off parents and fight He-Man. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's quite a few people still that shock me that never got figures made of stuff, but who's to say they won't at some point?
Well,
like
I would pay really good money for a G.G. Allen action figure. I'm just saying.
Covered in his own shite. We've gotten statues from Knucklehead, real nice high-end porcelain statues of Dime and Vinny, all of Pantera.
And they've done Manson as well. They've done quite a few different guys.
Yeah, those are really nice looking. They're very expensive.
They're very limited though.
They're QVC level amount of like limited print porcelain statues.
I agree.
But people like that, who's to say that Wolfgang doesn't get with McFarlane or NECA and do a Eddie Van Halen?
Oh yeah. Would be really good. I'm flipping through looking at action figures for Marilyn Manson, and they'd pop one of these up, and I swear they did the one video of his astonishing panorama of the end times was shot to look like Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a Celebrity Deathmatch
run. I remember that,
but they never materialized.
Yeah, because I think that was about the same time as the video game came out.
Good God, that was horrible.
That game was terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But anyway, so there's so many guys that definitely lend themselves to music figures. I'm honestly shocked that even some of I know there's like some country stuff as well. I'm actually here's Captain and Tennille, 1977. Mego.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, but if you were popular, you just
I'm surprised the Stones haven't got one done.
You know what? Probably not here. I mean, they've done Blues Brothers.
Yep, they have.
I mean, rightfully so. Country music stars. They did Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, and LeAnn Rimes. They were in these tube-looking containers. You've probably seen them rotting at the local flea market.
But
it's just really interesting to see all these. I mean, they've done.
The Johnny Cash one was probably the biggest one they did.
Definitely, for country music. For sure. I mean, that was a no articulated statue.
Yeah, that was straight up a statue, and it was such a bitch. It would never stand upright.
I had one. I never opened it. Opened it.
I've had a few. I had one regular opened, but then I had the Man in Black edition that was unopened.
Black one,
yeah.
I don't know. Pretty interesting. Oh, Schoolhouse Rock action figure. Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, that was McFarlane that did those. I think.
Was it
I think it was. That's when they made their reemergence in the late 90s.
Maybe. Yeah.
It was around the time the Beatles stuff was coming out.
Yeah, Sex Pistols. Yeah, so they had everything, but it definitely lends itself to the rock world for sure.
And then towards the end of the life cycle of McFarlane, he started doing the album covers, the 3D album covers.
That's what is brought up. So I'm looking at those now. He did
Master of Puppets, Sex Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks.
Led Zeppelin 1.
With
Hendrix, Are You Experienced?
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah, because that came around the same time. Going back to the previous episode, he did the horror movie posters for Jaws, Aliens, Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
and stuff like that as all three-dimensional covers.
This guy did John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora.
Yep.
And then he did him as a 2-pack. I mean,
and then he did John Bon Jovi by himself because he had to go solo at some point.
Right. It's very interesting. Like I said, this is damn weird.
You could tell that Todd McFarlane, I think, had something tells me if you would have found him in the 1980s, he had his hairspray 10 feet above his skull.
Oh yeah, I mean, he definitely went for what he liked.
Yeah, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil was a really cool box set. It came out at the end of the life cycle, and they came out, they cleared quick, and then it skyrocketed through the roof.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say with these music figures. The better they are, the harder they are to get, and the more they end up being worth down the road.
Yeah, the Metallica box set sealed is averaging $350 to $400.
One of my favorites, though, will always be the Rob Zombie. That was the Super Beast.
The Super Beast with the arm extensions.
That was just such a cool look.
That one, Alice Cooper, the $1 Million Babies one.
Yeah.
With the boa constrictor.
Yeah.
That was cool. You had two different Aussies. You had him muscle bound with the cross in the air, but you also had the Bark the Moon one too.
Yep. The Bark the Moon is cool, but the muscle bound Aussie that came with all the doves and bats with no heads.
In the stained glass, yeah.
Yeah, that was just such a great looking figure. I don't understand the whole muscle bound thing. I've never seen Ozzy as a superhero, but
when I associate the word ripped and Aussie, it's not for working out.
Ripping a ball.
Yeah. Ripped as in he can't function.
Yeah. Alice Cooper is good. I mean, honestly, though, looking back on it, Alice Cooper was not and still not and very much a very niche.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to shows that he actually sells. He sells stuffed bears, white bears with his makeup on the bear. I have one. Yeah, it's a little stuffed bear, and it's got the Alice Cooper makeup on it.
Well, it's for the people that go to see it. It's for their grandkids.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
it's also the cheapest thing he sells at $20, but that's neither there.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry Garcia. But anyway, yeah. So we're never going to see the end of these.
Hopefully not. I think I would hope at some point you would see, like I said, Eddie Van Halen, maybe Page and Plant, Led Zeppelin.
Well, they did do Page.
They did do Page. You are right. The double neck guitar, the double neck SG, maybe a Bon Scott, I don't think I think the only Gene Simmons figure won't ever see is probably Kiss Unmasked, because nobody wants to see an unmasked Gene Simmons.
Or what's that one concept album they did? The
Cult thing or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. I watched that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But I mean, there's so many different things that it's a universal. You can do anything with anything. I think that the last thing I saw Daft Punk ones too.
Daft Punk, they've done the Gorillaz has had figures.
Oh, the Gorilla ones were ridiculous. Oh, I just remembered one of the craziest things that McFarlane did. He did Pink Floyd's The Wall. He did those wall figures, and it was all individual pieces. And that shit was harder than hell to find. And it was badass looking. And then he did one complete box set version.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was huge.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it was a huge Spencer's hat. It was a big box. It was the wall, and the doors opened, and it had each individual figure in the box.
Was it considered an action figure?
They were statues. They were mock-ups of all the different types of looks of the wall, the artwork.
Oh. Huh.
That was where it kind of stemmed the whole 3D art.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Those are freaking cool, man. Was that McFarlane?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? No, SEG.
Really?
It was SEG because the big box has got a handle on top of it.
No shit. I thought he did it because I thought he did that in a 3D photo or album of Dark Side of the Moon.
No, this is SEG. This is cool though. I've never seen this before. This is very interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that at Spencer's, and it was
back when Spencer's sold actual.
Yeah, because I remember being
figures. Yeah,
when Krista was in college at ISU, we were in Spencer's, and that was the day I screwed up. It was sitting right there. It was like $100, but right next to it on clearance was the Alien Queen box set for $20. and I didn't buy it for whatever reason.
Damn.
Yeah. And
these are cool. These are very cool, man. Yeah, that's neat. Basically, we can break down this whole episode. If you're a fan of music, there's collectibles out there. I mean, these guys are making.
And I don't feel like it really gets talked about anymore. I think, and that's
sure
the reason
doesn't.
why. That's the reason why we want to do this episode, is because I looked around and nobody really talks about music-based action figures.
But I think people buy them. I mean, they have to, right?
It's like an odd market that crosses two different lines. You have music fans that like collecting music stuff, but they're not toy collectors, and then you have toy collectors that are music fans that don't really mess around with like music stuff. This stuff was the first stuff to start crossing lines. Like you did have musicians making comic books in the early 90s. You had that one company making the crappy music comics.
Those rock and roll comics.
The Pantera, Metallica, Dave, all those. That had a little bit of line crossing. Rob Zombie was, I think, the biggest crossover other than Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie is the most universal one to jump lines multiple times over. But
he just looks like it. I mean,
and then he did Spook Show International. He did The Nail. He did all those comic runs. Yeah. But like, that was the first time music fans were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go buy this toy," and toy fans were like, "Oh, I like that artist. I'm gonna go get him." And
I agree. I definitely agree. As an action figure guy that loves, I love music.
Yeah,
that's why I bought the Rob Zombie figures, because I'm an action figure guy.
Yeah, I mean,
and I was like, hey, I like his White Zombie band. Oh, this is Hellbilly Deluxe. That's Super Beast. Okay, that's really cool. I like this. Oh, it's by McFarlane.
Yeah,
I'm gonna grab it.
And then it's slightly off topic, but like even going into comic book stuff, I'm a big heavy metal fan. But if we went to go to Buy Me Toys to go meet Alex Ross and Jeff Johns. Everybody's getting the new book signed. I walk up with Anthrax, We've Come For You All, because he did the artwork for it. And he was over the moon excited about it. For me, it's like, I'm a music fan, but I'm also an Alex Ross fan. It's like,
I brought with me that day
The Music of Mass Destruction.
And I still got that, by the way, autographed by him. But remember when we had to tell him, look, we need to leave, because he wouldn't let us go.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept talking and talking and talking. Is Anthrax.
Yeah,
it definitely, even the biggest comic book artist, one of the biggest comic book artists of all time is a music nerd.
And he was just excited to talk about it. So it seemed like, I can't speak for him. I can't speak for a lot of people. If you catch somebody that you talk to them that doesn't involve their profession and talks about something completely different, I think it catches them off guard. And they're like, oh, you want to talk about that?
You could tell that everyone gives him the same questions. Same speech. Batman, Superman, blah, blah, blah.
And three of us walk up on him with Anthrax stuff in hand, and he's like,
these are my people, This just shows that the music figures and the music stuff definitely transcends, and it's very interesting. You're right. This episode was about, because no one really touches this stuff. They don't really talk about it. But you know what? It's been around since
for 50 years.
Yeah, and it keeps being around. It keeps going.
Yeah.
Look, there's a reason Super 7 and these other and Funko are doing these figures and Boyle Subjects and everybody, because there's fans out there. I mean, they wouldn't be making product if they ain't selling it. So this is definitely, while we might think it's a niche, I would like to see the numbers of some of these, like the Elton John pop versus, a Superman. I like to see the numbers and see how many it sold.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be a fun research.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how this Black Album thing goes. They did
me as well.
They did Doris for Injustice for All, and you can't find that anywhere now.
Yeah,
they've disappeared off the radar.
Yeah,
it's
very it's pretty cool, and they're going to keep coming. And you know what? I'm going to keep buying them. I've bought every single Misfits figure ever made. I own all of them. The only figure I don't have is of a Glenn Danzig. That's just my life.
Which I don't know if he'll ever release one.
They never will.
Yeah,
he won't allow it. So, but maybe that's part of the stuff that we didn't overlook. Maybe some people don't want their likeness out there.
I think that's a lot of things too. Is there's a lot of people out there, like I said, whether they've passed away and the family owns the property or what, you know.
Oh, one of the interesting ones, and not really music, but definitely tied to a star. I read just recently that Robin Williams, his estate is locked up for 30 years. They cannot use his face.
Yeah.
Which kills you, because you think of all the, I mean, even on the Funko side, I hate to go back to them time and time again, but can you imagine Hook, Mrs. Doubtfire? I mean, all this stuff that you could do with him.
Yeah.
You could do so much with him. He was in so many iconic movies that would lend itself over to what Funko does. But anyway,
I mean, it went just this past couple of years that we finally got likenesses for Jamie Lee Curtis and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah,
you know, and there's people that, I mean, even Bill Murray.
Yep.
Bill Murray was real tight until the past couple of years. I think somebody probably came to him and goes, "Hey, you know, you can make a lot of money if you do this with no work involved."
Yeah, with no work, and you're going to get huge checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, well, cool, man. This was a fun one. Definitely doing the research for this episode definitely jogged up some really cool old memories of things that have, you know, came and went, and things I didn't even know was out there. I mean, some of this stuff is really limited, very niche. Some of it's mass produced. It was very interesting. I hope our listeners, if you're music collectors and music fans, you've remembered some of these figures. We're going to cut out. We'll be back in a week or two. We'll have another episode ready to go. You guys can find us on Fireside FM. That's where our podcast is hosted through, and we're everywhere. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we're there. You can look us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, also YouTube. We should be dropping these episodes on YouTube, at least the audio of them, very, very, very soon-ish. Working on that. So we'll be back. Thanks, guys. Eric, got anything?
Nope.
All right, later.